Welcome students, let's begin with the class 8 political science. We are doing chapter number 7 of political science, that is understanding marginalization. Children, today we are doing the part 4 of this chapter. Now in this content, already we have learned the introduction. You have learnt about who are Adivasis and stereotyping. In our last session, we saw about the Adivasis and development. And in today's session, children, you'll be learning the remaining two topics, that is minorities and marginalization, Muslims and marginalization. Before starting with the today's topic, just we will have a quick recap of what did we see in that Adivasis and development. See, in that, children, you all saw that the history tells us that the forests were absolutely crucial to the development of all empires and the settled civilizations in India. Then we saw the situation of Adivasis changed over time. How it changed? It radically changed because they were hunter-gatherers and they were nomads, right? But the situation over the past 200 years changed due to economic changes, new forest policies, as well as the political changes. So what they have been forced to migrate and work in mines, plantations, construction sites, or even as the domestic workers. This is what we saw, right? Now they do not have the direct access to forest anymore in most of the cases. This is what we saw. Then they were forced to leave their land for what reasons? Forests have been cleared. That was for the timber, for agricultural activities, and even for the industries and for making dams. These were some of the, even for mining and the industrial projects. So these were the things, and powerful forces, they got together and they took away the land of the Adivasis, right? Then we saw the India has 54 national parks and 372 wildlife sanctuaries covering the area of 1,09,652 square kilometer. Correct. So this we saw the tribals originally lived in these areas, but they were evicted from there. So this is what we saw. They losing their lands and the access to forest means they were losing their livelihood and food, right? Then they started searching for the new means of livelihood and food for themselves. So because Adivasis, they have migrated to cities now in search of work. There they have to employ themselves at a very low wages also in the industries or even in the construction sites or as domestic workers. Then we saw this also caught them in the cycle of the poverty and deprivation, right? This is what you have learned in that topic. This we saw the 45% of the tribal groups in rural areas and the 35% in urban areas. They were living below the poverty line. This leads to the deprivation in other areas also. And we saw the many tribal children, they were malnourished, right? They were not getting the proper nutrition as they are deserving. Even the literacy rate among the tribals is also very low. This is what we have learnt in the topic. So this is what you have learnt in the previous topic. Let's begin with the today's topic, that is minorities and marginalization. Now, before starting with the topic, children, let's understand the meaning of the term minority. The term minority is most commonly used to refer to the communities that are numerically small in relation to the rest of the population. Now you see, you know the meaning of the majority. Majority and minority is the opposite. Majority means where the communities that have the large number of population, right? Whereas in minority, that will be the numerically small in relation to the rest of the population. Now here minority, the constitution provides safeguards. Now the term minority you all know, therefore however it is the concept that goes well beyond numbers, right? But it encompasses what issues of power, access to resources, and has social and cultural dimensions. The Constitution provides safeguards to the religious and linguistic minorities as part of our fundamental rights. See, you can see this minority means in which categories. communities it has been given, right? The communities, but in which contest? It is in the context of the religion as well as in the linguistic minorities. So the constitution has to provide the safeguard to the religious minorities also, as well as to the linguistic minorities also. Now here, see, the Indian constitution that recognizes the culture of the majority influences the way in which society and government might express themselves. But in such cases, the safeguards are needed to protect the minority communities against the possibility of being culturally dominated by the majority. See, what will happen because of the size can be a disadvantage, and even it led to the marginalization of the relatively smaller communities. See, as that communities are very smaller in size, so that may be the reason the safeguards are needed to for them. For what? Because the minority communities, they may be dominated by the majority communities in the society. Okay, so they also protect them against any discrimination and disadvantage that they may face. So it is the duty of the constitution to safeguard that minority communities. From whom? From the majority communities. So communities that are small in number relative to the rest of the society may feel insecure. Insecure in what way? About their lives, about their assets, and about their well-being. The minority communities, they will feel insecure for themselves, insecurity for themselves in the society. On what basis? On the basis of their about their lives as well as assets that they are holding, and the well-being. So this sense of insecurity may get acute. So that sense of insecurity need to be sorted out if the relations between the minority and the majority communities are not good. So that is the duty of the constitution now, to provide these safeguards, because it is committed to protecting India's cultural diversity and promoting equality as well as justice. See, children, you all know very well, you have learnt in the previous chapter of the judiciary. Judiciary plays a crucial role in upholding the law and enforcing fundamental rights, right? So every citizen of India can approach the courts if they believe that their fundamental rights have been violated. So this is the meaning, like wherever the minorities are there, the marginalization and minority, the constitution has to provide the safeguards to that communities, to that minority communities, because they should not be dominated by the majority communities. Now let's move to the next topic, that is the Muslims and marginalization. Now here, according to 2011 census, Muslims are 14.2% of India's population and are considered to be a marginalized community in India today, because in comparison to other communities, when we compare it with other communities, they have over the years been deprived of the benefits of socio-economic development. See, very first thing, the Muslim communities in a population is very less, so it is considered as the minority community, right? And then the minority communities are always marginalized only. Why? Because they have been deprived of the benefits of the socio-economic development. Now, your children, to make you understand this in a better way, the table has been given to you that will tell you about the different sources indicating the situation of the Muslim community with regard to the basic amenities, literacy rate. Let's go through that. Now here it shows you the access to the basic amenities in the year 2008 and 2009. Now children, if you will see this table, first one, that is the religious communities have been given in the first column, Hindu, Muslim, Christian and Sikh. Then the percentages of the Pakka house in each and every community, electricity that has been provided to them, and the tap water facility that is given to that particular community. The percentage has been given to you here. So just go through that. See, in the Hindus column, you will see in Pakka house 65.4%, in electricity it is 75.2, whereas in tap water it is 43.7%. Now whereas come to that Muslim community, there you will see 63.8 is the Pakka house, whereas 67.5 is the percentage who get the electricity, and 35.8 is the percentage who get the tap water facility. Now similarly you see for the other religious communities also, Christian and Sikh. When you will compare all these four children, you'll be able to see that the Muslim communities, they have the less access to the basic amenities compared to the other communities. Now similarly, the another table here shows you the literacy rate by religion, that is of the year 2011. See, total all is 74. The Hindus is 63%, Muslims 57%, whereas Christians 74, and whereas the Sikh, you can say the 67 here, Buddhist is 71, and the Jains is 86. So the less percentage can be seen in the Muslim community. Now what does it tells you here? Now, what is recognizing that Muslims in India were lagging behind in terms of the various development indicators. Then the government took up a step here. The government set up a high-level committee in the year 2005. Now, who was the chairman of that committee? Chaired by Justice Rajinder Sachar. The committee examined the social, economic, and educational status of the Muslim community in India. Now, what the committee was given the work as? They were discussing, they were examining the social, economic, and educational status of the Muslim community in India. The report discusses in detail the marginalization of this community. This community means the Muslim community. It suggests that on a range of social, economic, and educational indicators, the situation of the Muslim community is comparable to that of the other marginalized communities like the scheduled caste and the scheduled tribes. Now here what the report was saying here, according to that report, the average years of schooling for Muslim children between the ages of 7 to 16 is much lower than that of the other socio-religious communities. So this was the report given by the Rajinder Sachar, the Justice Rajinder Sachar, who was the chairman of the committee that was appointed by the government in the year 2005. So like economic and social marginalization that was experienced by Muslims has other dimensions also. That is not only on this basis on the education but other also. Like other minorities, Muslim customs and practices are sometimes quite distinct from what is seen as the mainstream. Now some, not all, it is for some cases. See, Muslims may wear a burqa and sport a long beard, and even they wear a fez. Fez is like a cap, hat it is. And these become ways to identify all Muslims. See, because of this, they tend to be identified themselves differently. And some people think they are not like the rest of us. So often this becomes an excuse to treat them unfairly and even to discriminate against them. See, children, in your 7th standard also you have learnt about one of the person, Ansari, who was finding it difficult to rent a house, to get a house on rent, right? So this social marginalization of Muslims in some instances, in some examples, has led to them migrating from places where they have lived, often leading to the ghettoisation of that community. Now, what is the meaning of that ghettoisation of that community? Ghettoisation means a ghetto is an area or a locality that is populated largely by members of a particular community. So children, you have heard about the Sindhi colony, like where maximum Sindhis people are living. You have heard about the Muslim community where like the particular area where all the Muslim people must be living. So this is like the ghettoisation where the same community tries to live in that same area and locality. So maybe the reason, one of the reason they feel themselves secured in that way because the same community, same type of people are living around them. So ghettoization refers to the process that leads to such a situation. So people wants to move away from that fear. That is the reason they want to live in that same area where the same community is largely populated, largely many people of the same community lives together there. So that is like sometimes this prejudice leads to the hatred and violence. So here there we can say in this case of the Muslim community there is a link between the economic and the social marginalization. Now children, in the experiences of all these groups point to the fact that marginalization is a complex phenomenon, right, requiring a variety of strategies, even strategies mean the policies, the measures and the safeguards to redress the situation. Redress means to change that situation, right? So all of us have a stake in protecting the rights defined in the constitution and the laws and the policies framed to realize these rights. Without these, we will never be able to protect the diversity that makes our country unique, nor realize the state's commitment to promote equality for all. Right? So it is like the marginalization, it is a complex phenomenon, but it can be changed. A variety of strategies, the policies need to be changed, the measures need to be taken, and even the constitution has to safeguard, to redress, to renew, to rechange, to change the situation. Now, children, here let's see the conclusion of this chapter. See, we have tried to understand what it means to be a marginalized community, right? So, we have tried to look at this through the experiences of different marginalized communities. There are different reasons for each of these communities being marginalized. So each experiences marginalization in different ways, right? It is not in the same way. See children, when you learnt about the Adivasis, their marginalization was on different bases, right? Then you learnt about the Muslims, their marginalization was on different bases. So it changes. Each experiences a different way. We have also seen that the marginalization is linked to experiencing disadvantage, prejudice, and powerlessness. In India, there are several more marginalized communities like Dalits, of whom you have already will be learning about them in the future chapters, also in the next chapters. So, marginalization results in having a low social status and not having equal access to education and other resources. But yet, the lives of the marginalized people can and do change, right? This can be changed. No one is marginalized all the time in exactly the same way. If we go back to the examples of marginalization that we have discussed, we will see that each of these groups has a long history of struggle and resistance. So ultimately, we can say the marginalized communities want to maintain their cultural distinctiveness while having access to the rights, development, and even the other opportunities that are there in the society. So, children, this is what you have learnt about the marginalization, and even you have seen that like everybody has experiencing the marginalization not on the same top point but in the very different way, right? So this is what you have learned in this chapter. So children, in today's session, you have learned these two topics of minorities and marginalization and Muslims and marginalization. So here we have completed with the chapter. Go through all the presentations of this chapter, read the chapter very well, write the important points, jot down in your notebook, and read it thoroughly so that you will be able to you will be understanding the chapter more clearly. So children, see you in the next session with a new chapter. Until then, take good care of your health. Thank you.